Hello and welcome to 50 Turns of Zheng Jiang. We'll jump right in with the Bandit Queen, who's labeled with a very hard starting position, and that's pretty accurate actually. She has access to 2 unique axe infantry units that also double as skirmishers, as well as a building that increases tributary income and another that increases replenishment at the cost of income.
Let emperors die. Let dynasties fall. Zheng Jiang will rise like the mighty cypress tree. All of China is for the taking. She will claim it.
And I'm playing today with the Record's color palette, which is suitably dark and brooding.
Ha! Those noble fools tear each other to pieces. This is long overdue.
You begin your campaign in the Black Mountains on the northern part of China, roughly in the center. You're immediately given the usual mission to defeat a nearby weak army, this one headed by a strategist and 3 archers. You can easily auto-resolve it, but if you do choose to fight it, it becomes one of the weirdest battles of the entire game. Because it starts in the forest and Zheng Jiang does not start with cavalry, it's actually rather difficult to run them down, and you can almost hear the Benny Hill music. But it is an easy and decisive victory regardless. From there, you capture the nearby settlement and occupy it at your leisure. Now, you may be tempted to try and sack it and gain infamy, but the simple fact is Zheng Jiang does actually require a home base, and if you do sack it, you permanently reduce the available population, which reduces replenishment. For a bandit queen that is something of a roving nomad faction, you have to have a surprisingly solid start before you do that. Wanting to expand my army before I set out, I wanted to recruit the strategist and the historic other half of Zheng Jiang, Lu Jing, but unfortunately she didn't get along with my current sentinel, which could have devastating consequences mid-campaign, but as she was a higher level and more valuable, he was gone. Directly to your south is your first and most obvious target, a toolmaker and an easy source of industry income. But to complete your province, you have to take a nearby iron mine, which isn't nearby at all. It's actually on the other side of the mountains, and between you and it is the entire faction of Zhang Yan, as well as several Han Empire forces. So you can either go north through bandit territory or south into the rich farmlands of the Han Empire. Hoping to gain some quick income on the way, I decided to go south and sack my way across the plains. Zhang Yan even offered me a non-aggression pact, so I didn't have to worry about him becoming a backdoor bandit. But I found myself foiled at my very first encounter. With long mustering times and slow replenishment, this Pyrrhic fight was one I simply couldn't afford to take this early in the game, so I moved on looking for easier pickings. But Zhang Yang holds grudges and pursued me the very next turn, so I decided to bravely run away. Surrounding the next city I came across, I decided to try and starve them out. And I must have made a rather formidable sight, as the same turn, Yun Shao offered for me to join a coalition with him. Though he initially asked for ancillaries I was unwilling to part with, so I did have to do a bit of horse trading. Needing to bolster my forces, I decided to research into the green line of technology. It boosts population, peasant income, and allows me additional spear units, which work well with the buffs given by Zheng Jiang. As the ferocity of my siege escalated, even Cao Cao decided he didn't want a piece of this ferocious warrior. Knowing there was only defeat waiting and sitting around, the AI decided to sally out and attack me before I could take the city. I decided to take full advantage of Zheng Jiang's guerrilla deployment ability and employed a strategy that would have her in the vanguard to try and hold off any reinforcements from the city. Instead, the enemy army turned around and attacked my hidden units. Luckily, Zheng Jiang is a beast. Pro tip for 3 kingdoms, don't try and duel a guardian type character that's 2 levels above you. By the time the rest of my army arrived, it was a simple matter of attacking the already engaged forces from the rear and cleaning up the remaining generals. But for all my bravado and planning, it was still a close victory. Now fully in control of 3 territories, my infamy was growing, and I thought I could exploit it to make someone a tributary state, but it turns out no one was that afraid of a small empire. When I took the city, I again decided the trade-off of losing over 80% of the population didn't offset the very low infamy gains. Now, infamy is the mechanic of Zheng Jiang, and you can see up at the top here that basically you always are losing it, no matter what. At level 1, losing 1 infamy every single turn. At this point, though, I was offered something new that I haven't seen in Three Kingdoms, a dilemma, asking whether I would befriend Zheng Jiang or throw him to the dogs. As we'd both adopted a laissez-faire attitude towards each other until this point, I saw no reason to betray him now. But try as I might, I couldn't convince Yuan Shao to bring him into our coalition. Wanting to shore up my position, the time had come to start making some powerful allies. And when Long-Ears Liu Bei approached me about a non-aggression pact, I decided it was worth the cost of business. Others, though, thought of themselves a little too highly for my taste. Now with a firm ally and the foundations for a positive relationship in the future, the time had come to take that iron mine I've been wanting since turn 1. Yuan Shao was even paying me to join wars that he started against people I had never even met. That's free money. And it's at this point that I encountered a dilemma that I haven't seen mentioned at any other stream, even from CA, where I had to weigh in on a hefty farming issue. But though there were 3 options on the screen, I could only click one of them. Now the reason being, Zheng Jiang lacked the necessary traits to enable the other 2 options. While this is true to character, it turned what could have been a fun choice into landing on the tax spot on the Monopoly board. You don't get a choice, and your only option is just to pay money. And you can't progress in the game further until you pony up. I salved my anger by reminding myself that iron mine right there would basically pay for all this in only a single turn. But while I was swinging up from the south, Zheng Jiang had the same idea and came down from the north, taking the iron mine for himself. The rat bastard. Initially, I'd planned to let the guy live, but now he was just another objective in a quest. Unable to take Zheng Jiang head on, as I was still militarily weaker, I turned back south again to take a few more cities and bolster my forces. But one recent splinter faction was actually willing to become a tributary rather than risk my furious anger. In response, the city that I had been unable to take at the start of the game and had frankly run away from suggested that I give them a territory in the name of peace, you know. This put them at the top of my shit list. Finding myself a nice quiet spot on the edge of their territory, I decided not only would I beat them, I'd ambush them first, and do my level best to kill them with humiliation. But first, I'd top off my army, just to make sure to destroy as many of them as possible. Perhaps seeing a kindred spirit in my murderous intent, Liu Bei approached me with a surprising offer. Until this moment, I hadn't really considered the future of my faction. As a 27-year-old female, Zheng Jiang was still technically of childbearing age, and I wasn't entirely sure if CA programmed in whether or not you can be too old to have kids in this game. I was thinking that Lu Bu would complement my faction quite well. But then Liu Bei approached me with an even better idea, enabling me to produce what can only be described as the most ferocious babies in the entirety of China. I quickly accepted Liu Bei's proposal to marry Zhang Fei before he could realize what a terrible mistake he was making. With a truly legendary general available to me, I dismissed my sentinel, only to find that Zhang Fei is actually quite expensive to recruit, only to find that this time, the enemy AI wanted to attack me. Unable to afford the cost of putting a tiger general into play, I had no force but to fight it on my own. Learning my lesson from last battle, I kept my forces relatively close together, and even managed to pull off a basic pincher maneuver. They also still hadn't learned not to fight Zheng Jiang. It was a close victory, but one that removed the main obstacle to taking that city. Ready to deliver the coup de grace, I pursued the retreating army, only to have them outrun me using march stance. I really do feel that wounded armies should get a debuff to movement points to prevent just this situation. The next turn, I tried it one more time, only to have the same thing repeated. The next turn, I gave up the chase and let him slip away, but now in control of vast farmlands and the core of the Black Mountains, I was a force to be reckoned with, such that Kong Rong actually agreed to pay me for a non-aggression pact. But not everything works out as you planned. How in the actual hell did he beat me back here? Realizing that I need extra support to take down someone this wily, I invested deeper into the Purple Tree, which gives bonus income to industry, and tipped the scales so I could finally recruit Zhang Fei before this fight. Being numerically superior, the best option was again to try and starve them out. During the siege, Yuan Shao appeared again and asked me to join yet another of his wars, but this one with Han Fu, who was currently on my eastern doorstep. He was getting a bit close to home, and agreeing to this one would actually make me slightly untrustworthy, but, you know, money's money. Again, the enemy AI sallied forth, and whereas previously I've jumped over these battles, I'm going to let this one play in full, and for those that aren't interested, you can skip ahead to roughly the 20-minute mark.
Our men have been discovered! The time has come!
Make haste! Ready bow! Master! Stand by axes! Make ready! Show fury! No mercy! For the cause! To battle! Show them justice! Move out quickly! With speed! Take aim! Like arrows fly! Attack!
Ready!
Bowmen, stand ready! Move out quickly!
Our men are spotted!
Stand ready! Archers, prepare! Volley! Heal yourself! Feel the earth's power! Attempting spearmen!
The enemy unit flees! What cowards! Attack! Stay down!
Archers, attack!
Show no mercy!
March at the double!
The enemy general is fallen! They were no match!
Go!
Take heed, warriors! Stand ready! Stay down! Stay down!
At the ready! Kill them! Move! Move! Weapons! Axemen
The
stand
men
by!
have no ammunition! Draw your weapons!
G warriors! To battle! To attention! To attention, G soldiers! Axemen! Archers! Run! Ready! Fight! Show no mercy! Strike! Feel the earth's power!
Make ready! Stay down!
I have been waiting for you!
Your words are as pathetic as you are! Fly!
Our men flee the battlefield! Fight!
Weapons ready! Yes! Unleash fury! Move out quickly! Halberd! Ready? Chief Polar, stand ready!
ready! Strike! Destroy them! Move! Move!
Do not relent!
Yes, yes! Good!
Steel yourselves! Attack! Our men have no ammunition! They cannot fire!
Move! Move out, quickly! Strike your target! To attention! Attend!
To attention! China will revel in your death!
Shut up and die!
Prepare! Destroy them! Deep! Strike! Axe warriors! The time has come!
Look! The enemy run! Craven!
Fight! Attack!
Go on, keep up! I know you can do it!
Oh, how witty! How very witty!
To attention, archers!
At the ready! The enemy warriors are running! Ha!
Stand ready! At the ready! Do not relent! Unleash fury! Faster! Ready!
Look! The enemy run! Craven!
Unleash fury! At the ready!
Prepare! Strike!
Strike! Take heed, warriors! Destroy them!
Prepare! The enemy warriors are running! Ha!
Run! Move! Move! To battle! Attack!
Does battle wear you out?
Amazing that you can both talk and battle!
The enemy warriors are running! Ha!
Good! Good! March at the double! Show no mercy! Ready! Vivid attack!
Time has come!
The enemy general is fallen! They were no match!
Not exactly the cleanest victory in the world, but it just goes to show the devastating powers of the heroes in romance mode. At this point, Zheng Jiang's continued occupation of the nearby iron mine was starting to gall me, so when he asked for additional peace treaties, I turned him down, and instead decided to throw my lot in with Yuan Shao. Confident in my newfound alliance, I decided to sack my way across China, but quickly found that infamy does not build as quickly as you might hope. Though it does come from battles and sacking, it deteriorates almost as fast as you can begin to build it. As he was likely occupied on his eastern front fighting Yuan Shao, that meant his capital was left unguarded and ready for a sneak attack. It's not exactly honorable, but hey, I'm an outlaw. What do you want? That'll teach you to take my iron mine.
For ignoring us.
But flushed with victory, my trusted lieutenant Liu Zhang was somehow captured. I'm not really sure how, as she was with my army the entire time, but I certainly didn't want to lose her, so there goes another $500. Racing through the mountain passes in a march stance, I tried to keep ahead of any possible counterattack from Zheng Jiang, and made directly for that stinking iron mine to finally wrap up my 50-turn campaign in a pretty strong position. And I decided to follow it up by a quick sacking tour of Zheng Jiang's territories. The man himself came down to try and stop me, but after a few turns of mustering up new forces, he was easily caught out in the field. At this point, the game offered to lower the difficulty for me. I declined.
Prepare! Move! Enemy reinforcements are arriving! Blades ready! Faster! Go! Go!
To attention! Move out quickly! Quick, march!
Cavalry, to attention! Cavalry, stand ready!
Ready, foe!
At the ready!
The time has come! With me!
Take heed, warriors!
Stand ready! To attention, archers!
Archers! Steel yourselves! Move out quickly! The time has come!
Cavalry men!
With speed! Make haste!
Ready! Zeus missile! Missile fire!
Axe warriors!
Attend! Bank ready! Archers ready! Release!
Axemen!
Our warriors run! Craven dogs!
Run! Hurry! Move! Faster!
Prepare! Attack!
Cavalry, attend!
Look! The enemy run! Craven!
Attend me, spearmen! Ready!
Ready!
Swordman!
Destroy them!
And ready!
Horsemen! Double time! Fight!
Spearmen! March as a double! Run! Go, go, go!
Bowman!
I cannot tell if you like killing or drinking more.
Why not both?
Strike them down!
Ready to ride!
Spears to hand! Kill them!
To battle! Cavalry, stand
leaving! Halberds! At the ready! Raise down back! Stand ready, catapult! Hurry! March quickly!
At the ready!
To attention!
Axemen, stand
You are
by!
nothing but a bandit villain!
To you, I must be a nightmare!
The time has come! Be ready! Make ready!
Sword! Join them! The enemy unit flee! What cowards! Shoot!
The time has come! Strike! At the ready!
You will lose and be forgotten!
I will crush you for this insult!
Run! Run! Unleash fury!
Weapons! Move out quickly! Steel yourselves! Swords sharpened! The enemy warriors are running! Ha! Orders! Fight!
Show no mercy!
Hurry, move! Faster! Move! Arrow! Take heed, warriors!
Archer, set! Go, catapult! Fire! Fire upon them!
Stop!
And the catapult! Archers, prepare! Stand ready!
Double time!
The enemy unit flees! What cowards!
Unleash fury! Attack! At the ready!
Double time! With speed!
G warriors! Move! Move! Run! Run! Prepare!
Bomb and flee the battlefield! Ready! Move! Mounted soldiers! Cavalry, mount up! Take heed, warriors!
Stand ready! Strike! Archers ready! March at the double! Do not relent!
To attention, archers!
Make ready! Horses! Look! The enemy run! Draven! Show no mercy! Cavalry!
Stand by axes! G pull up! Stand ready! G! Faster! Ready!
Make ready!
Ready! Faster! Charge! The enemy warriors are running! Ah!
The time has come! Go, go, go! To battle!
Feel the Earth's power!
When streamers say this game plays very different from previous Total War titles, they're not joking. And as the turn counter ticked over again to 50, the game congratulated me by again offering to lower the difficulty. And I can't really blame it, my infamy was still next to non-existent. And as it's the primary source of prestige points, I hadn't even begun climbing up the ladder to become an empress. I couldn't shake the feeling that this entire campaign had gone incredibly wrong. I had basically played Zheng Jiang as a good guy. I was rather honorable, I maintained alliances, I occupied cities, I actually didn't even do that much pillaging. I mean, Liu Bei offered to marry Zhong Fei to me. I can't imagine that happens to every scummy warlord he comes across. So before making this video, I actually played another 50 turns as Zheng Jiang, heading north this time and going directly for the iron mine, only to find that it's pretty heavily guarded and your starting troops are so weak that I couldn't actually take it. And while in the campaign recorded here, I basically wound up playing second fiddle to Yuan Shao, in this campaign, Zheng Jiang ran roughshod over the Black Mountains. Any territory that I sacked and looted and then left behind, he would quickly gobble up. And because of that, his power base quickly eclipsed mine. This time, he was the one offering the coalitions, and even kept trying to push a marriage on me with his weak strategist general, I kid you not, Wang Dong. Even focusing entirely on infamy game through sacking and battles, I couldn't get it above tier 1 because the replenishment was so difficult to overcome. And because I was attacking everything around me, everybody also was out for my head. So by turn 43, a coalition of the Han Empire and Kong Rong came down on me with 2 full stack armies and killed me on turn 43. I can't help but find it ironic that the better Zheng Jiang campaign had me playing the good guy. But as this is a preview build, there's still room to be tweaked and changed, and others have also pointed out that the early tiers of infamy may degrade a bit too quickly, with a bit too harsh of penalties. The problem is that her unique mechanic doesn't actually seem to benefit her in the early game, though I can see that after you get a strong power base in the Black Mountains, it makes perfect sense to go and make tributary states wherever you head. And though I was feared, no one would agree to become a tributary state, even under threat of losing their last settlement. It's not that her campaign itself is actually too hard, it was actually rather fun to play, and went much faster than Gongsun Zan's. The fact is, I was willing to play her campaign twice and enjoyed it both times immensely. And that's Zheng Jiang's campaign, who for me turned out as more of a Robin Hood than an actually historical Zheng Jiang. Thanks for watching, and look for more Three Kingdoms content on this channel as it gets closer to release. Have a great day out there.